My husband pushed me out of our front door in front of his mother, then threw my handbag after me and said, "Get out of my house." His mother stood behind him with her arms folded, smiling like she had finally won a war I did not know we were fighting. The hallway light was bright behind them. The evening air was cold against my skin. My slippers were still inside. My phone was in my handbag, lying open on the porch where he had thrown it. My keys had fallen somewhere near the flower pot. My hair was loose, my cheek was burning from the shock of hitting the door frame with my shoulder, and the neighbor's curtains were moving just enough to tell me people were watching. But nobody came out. Not yet. My husband Adrian stood in the doorway breathing hard, his jaw tight, his eyes dark with anger that did not belong fully to him. Some of it was his. Most of it had been planted by the woman standing behind him. His mother. Evelyn Cole. A woman who could turn a room cold without raising her voice. She had arrived 3 hours earlier with one suitcase, one church hat, and enough bitterness to poison a marriage that had already been bleeding quietly for years. And now she stood in my doorway, in the house I had cleaned, decorated, protected, paid for, and prayed over, acting like I was the stranger. "Close the door, Adrian," she said softly. "Do not let her make a scene." A scene. That was what she called it. Not cruelty, not betrayal, not her son pushing his wife out of the home they shared. A scene. Adrian looked down at me. For 1 second, I saw doubt. Just 1 second. The man I had loved tried to return to his own face. Then his mother said, "Remember what I told you. If you let her back in tonight, she will never respect you again." His face hardened. He looked at me like I had become an enemy. "You heard me," he said. "Get out." I sat up slowly. My palms were scraped from catching myself on the porch step. Nothing terrible, nothing dramatic, but enough to sting, enough to remind me this was real. I looked past him into the living room. My living room. The cream curtains I bought with my bonus. The blue rug I carried upstairs myself because Adrian said he was too tired. The framed wedding photo I had not yet found the courage to take down from the wall. The dining table where I had served dinner to his mother so many times while she inspected the food like she was looking for reasons not to bless it. And there, on the side table near the lamp, was the small folder I had brought home from work that afternoon. The folder Adrian had never opened. The folder that held the receipt for this month's rent. Paid. By me. Just like every month before it. Adrian thought this was his house, because his name was the one he shouted loudest. His mother thought it was his house, because she believed every room her son entered became part of her bloodline. But the landlord knew the truth. The lease was in my name. The rent came from my account. The deposit came from my savings. The electricity bill, water bill, internet bill, and maintenance fees were paid by me. Adrian had not paid full rent in 14 months. Not one full month. Sometimes he sent a little money and called it contribution. Sometimes he bought groceries and announced it like he had saved the nation. Sometimes he said his business was about to improve. Sometimes he said a wife should not count what her husband could not provide. But the bank counted. The landlord counted. The bills counted. And I had counted quietly. Because women are often taught that counting becomes disrespect when the numbers embarrass a man. I looked at him again. "Adrian," I said, voice low, "you need to think carefully." His mother laughed. Not loudly, just enough. "She is threatening you now?" Adrian's face tightened. "Leave, Mara." Mara. My name. Mara Bennett. For 6 years I had answered to Mara Cole. Wife, helper, peacekeeper, apology maker, bill payer. The woman expected to smile when his mother called me stubborn, selfish, modern, disrespectful, too educated, too quiet, too loud, too ambitious, too barren, too independent, and not the kind of wife a man could relax with. Tonight, I became something else. Done. I reached for my handbag slowly. My phone screen was cracked. I picked up the keys beside the flower pot. Then I stood, barefoot, cold, shaking. But standing. Adrian watched me with something like triumph. He thought I would cry. He thought I would beg. His mother expected me to apologize before the neighbors gathered more courage to look. Instead, I opened my cracked phone and called my landlord. Adrian frowned. "Who are you calling?" I did not answer. The phone rang twice. Then Mr. Alvarez picked up. "Mara, everything okay?" I looked directly at Adrian. "No, Mr. Alvarez. I need you to come to the property immediately." Adrian stepped forward. "What are you doing?" I raised one hand. He stopped, not because he respected me, but because neighbors were now opening doors. "Is there damage?" the landlord asked. "Not yet," I said, "but my husband has locked me out of the home I rent from you." Silence. Then Mr. Alvarez's voice changed. "He did what?" Adrian's eyes widened slightly. His mother stepped closer to him. I continued. "He pushed me outside and refused to let me back in. I have the lease documents and payment records. I need you here as soon as possible, please." Adrian grabbed the doorframe. "Mara, stop this nonsense." I looked at him calmly. No. That one word felt like a key turning in a lock. Mr. Alvarez said, "I am 10 minutes away. Stay where you are. Do you need police?" Adrian's mother inhaled sharply. Adrian looked suddenly less powerful. I said, "Not yet." Then I ended the call. The porch had become a stage. Mrs. Porter from next door stood behind her screen door. The young couple across the street were pretending to water a plant at night. Someone on the second-floor balcony leaned over the rail. Evelyn saw them and whispered, "Adrian, close the door." But Adrian did not close it now. He could not, because his mistake was beginning to unfold, and for the first time that evening, his mother's voice was not enough to hold it together. "What do you mean, the home you rent?" he asked. His voice was lower. "Careful now." I tilted my head. "You told me to get out of your house." He swallowed. His mother spoke quickly. "A husband's house is his house, no matter whose name is on some paper." I looked at her. "That may be how you raised him. That is not how leases work." Her face changed. The first crack, small. "Beautiful." Adrian stepped onto the porch. "Mara, come inside so we can talk." I almost laughed. 10 seconds earlier, he had told me to leave. Now the word landlord had softened his voice. "No," I said. He glanced at the neighbors. "Stop embarrassing me." I stared at him. "You pushed your wife out in front of your mother, and I am embarrassing you?" His jaw tightened. "Do not twist things." "I do not need to twist anything. You did it straight." A few neighbors murmured. Evelyn snapped, "Enough. Adrian, this woman is trying to shame you in front of strangers." "No, Mrs. Cole," I said. "You did that when you told him to throw me out." Her eyes narrowed. "I told my son to be a man, and he obeyed you like a boy." That landed. Adrian flinched. Evelyn's face hardened with fury. Before she could speak, headlights turned into the driveway. Mr. Alvarez's silver truck stopped near the gate. He got out quickly, wearing a jacket over his home clothes, his gray hair messy, his expression serious. Behind him came his wife, Mrs. Alvarez, who held a folder in one hand. They had owned the house for 12 years and rented it to me for 3. Not to Adrian, to me. Mr. Alvarez walked up the path. "Mara?" "I'm okay," I said. He looked at my bare feet, my scraped palms, the open door, Adrian, then Evelyn. His face hardened. "Mr. Cole," he said, "why is my tenant outside without shoes?" Adrian opened his mouth. Nothing came out fast enough. Evelyn stepped forward. "This is a family matter." Mr. Alvarez looked at her. "No, ma'am. This is my property." For the first time all night, Evelyn looked like someone had spoken a language she could not control. Mrs. Alvarez reached me and touched my arm gently. "Come stand by me, dear." That almost broke me. Not because I was weak, because kindness at the right moment can cut deeper than cruelty. Adrian finally spoke. "There was an argument. Mara is making it bigger than it is." Mr. Alvarez's voice stayed calm. "Did you lock her out?" Adrian looked at me. then at the neighbors. I asked her to leave for the night. Did you push her outside? Silence. Evelyn said, my son has been under pressure. She provoked him. Mrs. Alvarez's head turned slowly. Be careful, madam. Evelyn looked offended. Mr. Alvarez removed a document from his wife's folder. The lease is with Mara Bennett Cole, now updated in our records as Mara Bennett, after her request 2 months ago. She is the sole tenant of this property. Rent is paid from her account. Security deposit came from her account. All correspondence regarding tenancy is with her. Adrian's face went pale. 2 months ago, yes, 2 months ago, I had walked into Mr. Alvarez's office after Adrian shouted that a wife had no right to ask her husband for a rent plan. I had asked what would happen if there was trouble at home. Mr. Alvarez had looked at me kindly and said, Mara, trouble already sounds like it has a chair in your living room. He helped me update my records. I had not told Adrian. Not because I was planning war, because I was preparing shelter. Mr. Alvarez continued, Mr. Cole, you do not have the authority to remove Mara from this house. Evelyn lifted her chin. He is her husband. And she is my tenant. Adrian rubbed his forehead. Mara, please, come inside. I looked at him. Why? So we can talk. No, we can talk here. Don't do this. I did not do this. He lowered his voice. My mother is tired. She traveled today. We all got emotional. I looked behind him at Evelyn. She was not tired. She was furious. Your mother ordered you to throw me out, I said, and you did. His eyes moved toward the neighbors again. Keep your voice down. No, that word felt easier the second time. Mr. Alvarez turned to me. Mara, do you want him to remain in the house tonight? The question hung in the air. Adrian stared at me. Evelyn stared too, but with disbelief, as if no one had ever suggested I could decide anything. I looked at my husband. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of small humiliations. 6 years of being told to be patient while he found himself. 6 years of his mother visiting and rearranging my kitchen. 6 years of her telling him a real wife would kneel to serve his plate. 6 years of rent receipts in my email and insults in my ears. And tonight, he had chosen her command over my safety. No, I said. Adrian looked like I had pushed him. What? I do not want him in the house tonight. Evelyn shouted. You cannot throw my son out. I looked at her. He threw me out first. I just know whose name is on the lease. Mr. Alvarez nodded. Mr. Cole, you need to collect necessary personal items and leave for the night. If you refuse, I will call the police and have you removed for trespassing at the tenant's request. Adrian stared at the landlord. Then at me. Mara, don't let it go this far. I thought of every time I had said those words silently to him. When he let his mother insult me. When he spent rent money on a failed business idea. When he called my salary our blessing, but his small income his respect. When he told me I was too proud because I did not want Evelyn moving in permanently. When he said my womb had made his mother sad, even though we had not even finished medical tests. When he said a woman who pays bills too loudly kills her husband's spirit, I had let it go far, too far. I am not letting it go anywhere, I said. I am stopping it here. Mr. Alvarez stood beside me. Mrs. Alvarez gave me her shawl. Neighbors watched. Evelyn trembled with anger. And Adrian, the man who had shouted "my house" from a home he had not paid for, walked inside quietly to pack a bag under the eyes of the woman he had obeyed too easily. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if you have ever been pushed out of a place you paid for, disrespected in a home you held together, or made to feel guilty for being the responsible one. Stay with this story. Because sometimes the day they throw you out becomes the day you finally learn who really owns the door. My name is Mara Bennett. For 6 years, I carried the name Cole like a basket full of stones, telling myself the weight was marriage. I met Adrian Cole when I was 28 at a community finance workshop where I was teaching small business owners how to track expenses and separate personal money from business money. Adrian arrived late. Not rudely late. Charming late. The kind of late where the person smiles enough to make everyone forgive them before they even apologize. He wore a white shirt, dark trousers, and confidence that looked expensive, even though I later learned he was broke in very creative ways. He sat near the front, took notes, and asked smart questions about cash flow for service-based businesses. He said he wanted to build a digital marketing agency for small local brands. He had ideas, energy, and a way of making failure sound like research. After the workshop, he waited while everyone else left. "You explain money like you respect people," he said. I smiled. "What does that mean? Most finance people make you feel stupid. And I didn't? You made me feel like I could fix things." That line stayed with me. At the time, I thought it meant he wanted to grow. Later, I realized some people like you because you make repair feel possible, but they still expect you to do all the fixing. We started dating slowly. Adrian was funny, warm, thoughtful in small ways. He brought me roasted corn from a street vendor because I once mentioned loving it as a child. He remembered my favorite tea. He asked about my work and listened with his whole face. I worked as a senior accounts officer at a property management company then. I was not rich, but I was stable. I had savings, a rented one-bedroom apartment, and a plan to become a certified financial advisor for small businesses. Adrian admired that. At first, he said he loved how independent I was. He said he had never met a woman so disciplined. He said we would build something powerful together, because I had structure and he had vision. Structure and vision. Those words sounded balanced. They were not. Structure paid rent. Vision made speeches. Still, I loved him. Love is rarely foolish in the beginning. Usually, it begins with real things. Real laughter. Real tenderness. Real hope. Adrian had grown up as the only son of Evelyn Cole, a widow who treated motherhood like a throne she had earned through suffering. His father died when Adrian was 12, and from that moment, Evelyn built her whole identity around raising a king. She said that often. "My son is a king." At first, I thought it was sweet, then strange, then dangerous. Evelyn did not dislike me immediately. She studied me first. At our first dinner, she served jollof rice, fried plantain, peppered chicken, and enough questions to conduct a trial. "Do you cook?" "Yes." "Do you like children?" "Yes." "Can you respect a man even when you earn more?" I laughed because I thought she was joking. She was not. Adrian touched my knee under the table. "Mom?" "What?" she said. I asked because modern women confuse salary with authority. I should have listened to the warning inside my stomach. Instead, I smiled politely. "I believe marriage is partnership." Evelyn nodded slowly. "That is what women say when they do not want leadership." Adrian changed the subject. Later, in the car, I told him his mother was rude. He sighed. "She is old school." Old school does not mean disrespectful. She just worries for me. "About what?" "That I won't be honored in my own home." I turned to him. "Do I dishonor you?" "No, babe. Of course not." "Then why did you not say that?" He rubbed his neck. "I don't like arguing with my mother." That sentence should have frightened me more. It would become the third person in our marriage. We got engaged after 18 months. My friends liked Adrian but worried about his business instability. My best friend Tessa asked direct questions because she loved me enough to risk annoying me. "Does he pay for things consistently?" "He tries." That is not an answer. He is building a business. So are half the men with ring lights and unpaid phone bills. "Tessa, I like him. I do. But I like you more." I laughed then. I did not laugh later. The wedding was beautiful in the way modest weddings can be beautiful when people bring more love than money. We married in a small hall decorated with white flowers and blue fabric. My aunties cooked. My co-workers contributed. Adrian cried during his vows. Evelyn wore a gold dress so bright she looked like she was being crowned. During the reception, she took the microphone and said, "Today I give my son to his wife. But Mara must remember that a river never forgets its source." People clapped. I smiled. But Tessa leaned toward me and whispered, "That was not a blessing. That was a warning label." She was right. After the wedding, Adrian moved into my apartment for 6 months while we searched for a bigger place. He called it temporary, but even temporary things reveal permanent habits. He left clothes on chairs, forgot to transfer bill money, promised to fix things and did not, spent late nights working on campaigns that rarely paid on time. But he was affectionate. He cooked sometimes. He made me laugh when work was stressful. He prayed with me when I felt overwhelmed. I told myself every marriage needs adjustment. Then we found the house. Not a mansion, not luxury, but lovely. 3 bedrooms, small front porch, back garden, quiet street, good light, close to my office, and not too far from Adrian's mother. That last part was not my preference. It was his. The landlord, Mr. Alvarez, liked me immediately because I came prepared. Payslips, references, bank statements, deposit, identification. Adrian came with enthusiasm and a phone full of business ideas. Mr. Alvarez asked whose name would be on the lease. Adrian said, "Both of us, of course." But his bank statements did not support the application. His income was inconsistent. His credit history was messy. Mine was clean. Mr. Alvarez told us privately that the lease would be stronger in my name. Adrian looked embarrassed. I quickly said it did not matter because we were married. That was my mistake. It mattered. Paper always matters. But it saved us then. I signed. I paid the deposit. I paid the first month. Adrian promised he would take the rent from the 3rd month once his new contract came through. The contract came. Then delayed payment. Then a client refused. Then equipment broke. Then his friend needed repayment. Then his mother had a medical bill. Then another opportunity required investment. Each month I paid. At first he apologized, then explained, then defended, then resented being asked. By the 2nd year, rent had become my responsibility without ever being officially discussed. When I tried to create a household budget, he said, "Why do you treat marriage like an office?" "Because rent does not accept romance," I wanted to say. But I softened it. "I just want us to plan." He leaned back. "You make me feel like a failure." That sentence trapped me for years. I loved him. I did not want him to feel like a failure. So I became careful. Careful not to ask about money too directly. Careful not to mention when I covered shortfalls. Careful to thank him loudly when he bought groceries. Careful to hide bills when Evelyn visited because she loved asking who paid what, then pretending she did not care. But Evelyn cared. Not about whether rent was paid, about whether her son looked like the provider. She visited often, too often. At first every 2 weeks, then weekly, then whenever she felt like it. She rearranged my kitchen, corrected my cooking, asked why laundry was not folded by afternoon, complained that I worked too much, said Adrian ate better before marriage, said my curtains were too plain, said a woman's home should reflect her husband's honor. One Saturday, she opened my fridge and said, "A working wife should still know how to stock a house." I had worked a 12-hour week closing month-end accounts, paid rent that morning, and cleaned the bathroom before she arrived. I said, "The house is stocked." She held up a container. "This soup is from 2 days ago." I looked at Adrian. He looked at the television. That was how he abandoned me most often. Not with action, with silence. Later I told him, "You need to tell your mother to stop criticizing me." He sighed. "She means well." "No, she means control." "Mara, please." "Please what?" "Do not start a fight. I am asking for respect in my own house." His face changed. "Our house." Of course. But even then, I knew. He only remembered our when I said my. When rent was due, it was somehow mine. When his mother challenged me, it became his. The 3rd year of marriage was when everything became heavier. Adrian's business failed in a formal way. Not the vague struggle of before, a real collapse. He lost 2 major clients, owed money to a contractor, and had to close his small office. He moved his desk into our second bedroom and called it a strategic reset. I supported him. Emotionally, financially, practically. I helped him organize debts, negotiate payment plans, and build a new service package. I introduced him to 2 small business owners. I paid for a short certification course he wanted. For a while, he seemed grateful. Then shame turned into irritation. He began sleeping late, snapping easily, avoiding friends, complaining that I had become too managerial. I suggested therapy. He said, "I need respect, not therapy." Evelyn agreed. Of course. She began visiting more often after the business failed. Sometimes she came with food for Adrian only. She would place a container on the counter and say, "My son likes this one, he has lost weight," as if I had starved him. Sometimes she prayed loudly in the living room, asking God to restore Adrian's authority. Authority. Not peace, not income, authority. Once, I came home early and heard her speaking to him in the kitchen. "A man cannot breathe under a woman who pays bills." Adrian said nothing. She continued, "You think she is helping you, but she is training you to be small." He murmured, "Mara is not like that." Evelyn said, "Not openly. Smart women do not disrespect loudly. They use money." I walked in then. Both turned. I looked at Adrian. He looked away. Evelyn smiled. "Oh, you're home." "Yes," I said. "In the house my money is apparently using as a weapon." Adrian stood. "Mara, no, let's not pretend." I heard. Evelyn lifted her chin. "If your conscience is clean, why are you offended?" "My conscience is tired." She laughed softly. A wife should not be tired of helping her husband. A husband should not be comfortable watching his wife be insulted for helping him. Adrian slammed his hand on the counter. "Enough!" The room went silent. He had never done that before. Not to me. My heart jumped. Evelyn looked satisfied. Adrian noticed and softened his voice. "I mean, both of you should stop. Both." That word cut deeper than the slam. He placed my exhaustion and her cruelty on the same scale. That night, I slept in the guest room. The next morning, he apologized. Not fully, not specifically. "I just feel attacked," he said. "I accepted because I wanted peace. Peace can become a dangerous addiction. You start accepting crumbs of apology just to stop the noise. By the 4th year, I stopped telling friends everything. That is how you know things are getting bad. You start editing the story because hearing it clearly might force you to act. Tessa still saw through me. At lunch one day, she asked, "Are you safe with him?" I was offended. Not because the question was wrong, because it reached a place I was hiding from. "He doesn't hit me." That is not what I asked. I looked down. "He gets angry, but no, not like that." "Does he scare you?" I did not answer fast enough. Tessa's eyes filled. "Mara, I'm managing. Managing is for projects, not marriages." I laughed weakly. She did not. "Whose name is on the lease?" "Mine." "Good. Why good?" "Because one day you may need one clean fact in a dirty situation." That sentence stayed with me. 2 months later, I went to Mr. Alvarez to update my personal details. Not dramatically, quietly. I asked him what my rights were if my spouse refused to leave. He did not pry, but he gave me information. He said, "I hope you never need this, but keep copies of payments." I already had them. Every rent transfer, every repair payment, every utility bill, every message from Adrian saying he would sort me back soon. Soon is a country irresponsible people love to live in. Then Evelyn announced she was coming to stay for 1 month. Not asked, announced. She claimed her apartment needed repairs. I said we should discuss dates. Adrian said, "She is my mother." I said, "And I am your wife." He said, "Why must everything be competition?" "Because your mother made it one," I thought. But I did not say it. Evelyn arrived with 1 suitcase and many opinions. By the third day, she had taken over the kitchen. By the fifth, she had moved my work files from the dining table because family must eat in peace. By the seventh, she told Adrian he should sleep earlier because a man's body does not rest beside tension. By the 10th, she asked why we had no children yet. At dinner, while I was serving stew, my hand froze. Adrian said, "Mom, please." She looked at me. "I am asking because people will ask me." What should I tell them? That my son is waiting forever? I set the spoon down. "We have discussed this privately." "No," she said. "You and Adrian discuss. I am his mother." I looked at Adrian. He rubbed his forehead. "Mara, just answer. Just answer." As if I was the difficult one. I took a breath. "We are still considering timing." Evelyn snorted. Timing. Modern word for selfishness. Adrian said nothing. Something in me cooled. After dinner, I went to our bedroom and closed the door. Adrian came in later. "You embarrassed me." I turned from the wardrobe. "I embarrassed you? You spoke to my mother coldly. She asked about my womb at dinner. She wants grandchildren. And I want privacy." He laughed bitterly. "Privacy. In marriage?" "With your mother, yes." His eyes flashed. "You always act like my mother is the problem." Because tonight, she was. "No, Mara, the problem is you do not know how to bend." I stared at him. I had bent so far I barely recognized my own shape. That night I slept badly. In the morning, Evelyn behaved as if nothing had happened. People like her often trust others to carry the discomfort they create. On the final night, the night he pushed me out, I came home late from work, month-end again. Numbers, reports, staff errors, and a client audit that had drained my patience. I found Evelyn in the living room with Adrian. The television was off. That was never good. They were waiting. My handbag was still on my shoulder when Evelyn said, "We need to talk." I looked at Adrian. He would not meet my eyes. "About what?" Evelyn sat upright. "About this house." A strange feeling moved through me. I set my bag down slowly. "What about it?" she said. "Adrian has allowed things to go too far. You have become too comfortable acting as if you are the head here." I almost laughed. "Because I came home from work? Because you behave like this house answers to you." I looked at Adrian. He stared at his hands. I asked him, "What is this?" He finally looked up. "My mother feels disrespected." "Your mother does not live here." Evelyn smiled. "There. You hear her." Adrian stood. "Mara, don't start." I closed my eyes. That phrase, again, "don't start," meaning do not respond to what we began. "I am tired," I said. "I am going to shower. We can speak tomorrow." Evelyn's voice sharpened. "No, you will not walk away while I am talking." I turned to her. "This is my home. I will walk to my bathroom when I choose." The room went still. Adrian's face changed. Evelyn stood slowly. "Your home?" I should have stopped. Maybe. But truth had already stood up inside me. "Yes," I said. "My home. I pay for it." Adrian flinched as if I had exposed him. Evelyn turned to him. "You see, I told you, she has no respect." Adrian's shame became anger immediately. "Mara, apologize." I looked at him. "No." His voice rose. "Apologize to my mother." "No." Evelyn began speaking fast, emotional, dramatic. "Adrian, if your father were alive, he would weep. A man standing in a house while his wife humiliates him. She thinks because she earns salary, she owns your name, your roof, your future. Today it is rent. Tomorrow she will tell you when to breathe. If you do not stop this now, you will never be a man in your own house." Adrian's hands clenched. I saw him being pulled. I also saw him choosing. That part mattered. "My father is not here," he said, voice low. "But I am." I took one step back. "Adrian." He pointed toward the door. "Get out." I stared. "What?" "You heard me." Evelyn lifted her chin. "Good." I looked from mother to son. You are telling me to leave because your mother is upset? Adrian moved closer. I am telling you to get out of my house. The words landed. My house. Then he grabbed my arm. Not with full force at first, but enough. I said, let go. He pulled me toward the door. Adrian, stop. Evelyn said, do not let her manipulate you. He opened the door. I tried to turn back for my shoes. He pushed. Not violently enough to send me far, but enough to force me out. Enough to make me stumble. Enough to make my shoulder hit the frame and my palm scrape the porch. Enough to change everything. Then he threw my handbag after me. Get out of my house, he said. And that is where this story began. Mr. Alvarez made Adrian leave that night. He packed one bag while his mother shouted about disrespect, marriage, family, and curses that only seemed to fall on women who paid bills. I stayed outside with Mrs. Alvarez until Adrian and Evelyn walked out. Evelyn stopped near me. Her eyes were full of poison. You have destroyed your marriage tonight. I looked at her. No, I finally stopped helping you destroy me. She leaned closer. You will regret this. Not as much as your son will regret learning rent has due dates. Mrs. Alvarez coughed, maybe to hide a laugh. Adrian looked at me once from the driveway. His face was not angry now. It was scared. Good. Fear is often the first honest emotion after entitlement fails. He got into Evelyn's car. She drove away. Mr. Alvarez changed the locks that same night. He did it himself from a kit he kept in his truck. While he worked, I sat on the sofa wrapped in Mrs. Alvarez's shawl. My hands had been cleaned. My shoulder ached lightly. My phone screen was cracked but working. Tessa arrived 20 minutes later after receiving my message. She entered, saw my face, and said nothing. She just hugged me. I broke then. Not because Adrian left. Because I finally understood he had been gone long before the door closed. The next morning, Adrian called 37 times. I did not answer. Then messages came. Mara, please pick up. I am sorry. My mother pushed me too far. You know I would never hurt you. This is not us. Please do not let outsiders enter our marriage. Outsiders. He meant the landlord, the neighbors. Tessa. Anyone who had witnessed what secrecy used to protect. By afternoon, Evelyn called. I blocked her. By evening, Adrian sent a message that sounded less apologetic. You cannot just remove me from our home. I have rights as your husband. I forwarded it to Mr. Alvarez and to the lawyer Tessa recommended. The lawyer's name was Helen Brooks. She was practical, sharp, and had the kind of voice that made nonsense feel underdressed. After I told her everything, she asked, do you want reconciliation or protection? The question hit me hard. I don't know. She nodded. That is okay emotionally. Legally, we prepare for protection while you decide. We documented everything. Lease, rent payments, utility bills, messages, photos of my scraped palms and shoulder bruise, neighbor statements from Mrs. Porter and the young couple across the street. Mr. Alvarez wrote a formal account of being called to the property. Helen advised me not to allow Adrian back without a written agreement and a safety plan. Tessa wanted me to pack all his things into garbage bags. I did not. Not because he deserved gentleness. Because I did not want my pain to make me sloppy. We packed his clothes neatly into boxes, labeled them, placed them in the garage. Helen sent him a letter. He could arrange a supervised collection. He did not like that. Of course, men who throw women out rarely enjoy being told how to pick up their socks. 3 days later, Adrian came with his cousin Michael to collect his things. I was not alone. Tessa was there. Mr. Alvarez was outside. Helen was on speakerphone. Adrian looked exhausted. His eyes searched my face, as if he expected the old Mara to appear, the one who would soften because he looked sad. He said, "Can we talk privately?" No. His jaw tightened. Tessa does not need to be here. Tessa smiled. Tessa disagrees. Michael, to his credit, looked embarrassed. He helped carry boxes quietly. Adrian stood in the living room and looked around. The house already felt different. Not empty. Lighter. He noticed. "I made a mistake," he said. "Yes. I should not have pushed you." "No. My mother." I raised a hand. "Do not." He stopped. "Your mother did not push me," I said. "You did." His eyes filled. "She got in my head." "Then you should be more careful who you give space there." Tessa murmured, "Amen." Adrian looked at her. I said, "Focus on me." He turned back. "I was ashamed," he said, "about the money, about the rent, about everything." I waited. I felt small. "That does not give you the right to make me unsafe." He flinched. "I know." I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. But belief was not enough anymore. Love without safety is just hope standing in traffic. He reached into his pocket and removed his house key. "I guess this is useless now." "Yes." He placed it on the table. Then he said the sentence that showed me he still did not understand. "So what now? You want me to beg to come back to my own marriage?" I looked at him for a long moment. "You think begging is the problem? What else do you want?" "Accountability." I said, "I'm sorry." Sorry is a doorbell. Accountability is entering the right house and doing the work. He looked confused. Tessa looked proud. I continued, "You need counseling, separately. You need to send me your financial records if you expect any conversation about shared future. You need to speak to your mother and set boundaries without using me as the villain. You need to repay what you owe toward household expenses, not because I need it to survive, but because you need to stop hiding from reality. And you need to understand that if you ever touch me in anger again, there will be no conversation." The room was silent. Adrian looked at Michael, as if hoping another man would translate. Michael only said, "She is right." That surprised both of us. Adrian looked betrayed. Michael shrugged. "You were wrong, bro." Adrian took his last box and left. For 2 weeks, there was silence. Then Adrian began therapy. I knew because he sent a screenshot of the appointment confirmation. I did not praise him. A grown man booking therapy after pushing his wife out is not a heroic achievement. It is a minimum first step. He also sent a spreadsheet. It was messy, incomplete, embarrassing. But it showed something. He had debts I did not know about. Small loans, business credit, money borrowed from friends, money borrowed from Evelyn. That explained part of her control. She had been funding his pride while I funded his life. 2 women paying for one man's refusal to stand honestly. I stared at the spreadsheet for a long time. Then I cried. Not from sadness only, from anger. How many times had he let his mother insult me while both of them knew he was borrowing from her and living under my lease? How many times had he let his mother insult me while both of them knew he was borrowing from her and living under my lease? How many times had he let his mother insult me while both of them knew he was borrowing from her and living under my lease? How many times had he let his mother insult me while both of them knew he was borrowing from her and living under my lease? Not inside. The new locks helped. She stood at the gate and called my name. I did not go out. I spoke through the intercom. "What do you want?" "My son is suffering." I almost closed the line. She continued, "You have made your point." "No, Mrs. Cole. Adrian made the point when he pushed me out." She was silent for a moment, then said, "I did not tell him to hurt you. You told him to throw me out. I told him to be a man. You taught him those were the same thing." Her breath caught. Good. Truth should sometimes interrupt people. She said, "A wife should not expose her husband publicly. A husband should not create public evidence. You are too sharp, and you are too late." She pressed her lips together. "I want to collect the rest of his documents." He collected his things. Anything else can be requested through Helen. Who is Helen? My lawyer. The word landed beautifully. She stepped back. Lawyer? Yes. You will take your husband to court? I will protect myself wherever protection is needed. Her face shifted from anger to something closer to fear. You are breaking the family. No, I am refusing to be broken inside it. I ended the intercom. My hands shook afterward, but less than before. Healing is not when you stop shaking. Sometimes healing is when you shake and still do the right thing. Over the next 3 months, Adrian changed in ways I could see, but not yet trust. He continued therapy. He found a full-time job at a marketing firm instead of chasing another vague business idea. He began repaying debts. He sent monthly payments toward the back rent he had promised over the years. I kept the money in a separate account because I did not know whether it would become part of divorce settlement or rebuilding. He moved into Michael's spare room, not Evelyn's house. That mattered. Evelyn hated it. That mattered too. Adrian asked to meet in public after 6 weeks. I agreed. Tessa sat 2 tables away at the cafe, pretending to read a menu she already knew by heart. Adrian noticed. Is that necessary? Yes. He nodded. Not happily, but he accepted it. Progress. He looked different, less polished, more tired. But maybe more real. I have been angry at you, he said. I almost stood. He raised a hand quickly. Not because you were wrong, because you stopped hiding what I was ashamed of. I sat back. I blamed you for making me feel small, he continued, but I was already small in the places I refused to grow. I said nothing. I let my mother call control love because it benefited me. When she attacked you, I stayed silent because it meant she was not looking at my failures. When you paid rent, I called it partnership in private and embarrassment in public. That was wrong. My throat tightened. Specific. Therapy was doing something. I pushed you, he said. His eyes filled. I keep trying to make that moment smaller in my head, like it was just stress, just anger, just my mother. But I pushed you out of your home. I scared you. I am sorry. I looked at him. I believe that you are sorry. Hope flashed in his face. I lifted one hand. But sorry does not decide what happens next. It faded. He nodded. I know. Do you? I'm learning. That was more honest than yes. We met several times after that. Always in public. Always with boundaries. Sometimes the conversations were painful. Sometimes useful. Sometimes they reminded me why I had loved him. That was dangerous. Because love does not disappear just because someone hurts you. It lingers. It looks for proof that the good parts were real. And some of them were. Adrian was funny. He remembered my tea. He asked about work. He listened better. He cried when he spoke about how ashamed he felt, telling his therapist that his wife paid most bills. He admitted Evelyn had raised him to confuse care with obedience. He admitted he liked being treated like a king because kings do not have to explain missing rent. I appreciated his honesty, but I did not invite him home. The house became mine in a deeper way after he left. Not legally. That was already true. Emotionally, I moved the furniture, painted the kitchen a soft yellow, took down the wedding photo, turned the second bedroom into my financial consulting office. Bought new curtains because Evelyn had once said my old ones were too plain, and I realized I had kept them out of stubbornness, not joy. I hosted women's budget workshops on Saturdays. At first, 3 women came, then 8, then 15. We talked about savings, debt, leases, marriage money, quiet contributions, emergency plans, and the shame women feel when they earn more than men who resent their survival. I never told them the full story at first. But I said this: know whose name is on the paper. Know where the money comes from. Love is beautiful, but documentation is protection. Women nodded. Some cried. Some came back the next week with folders. I began calling the workshops Keys and Receipts. Tessa said the name sounded like a gospel group for accountants. I kept it anyway. 6 months after the night on the porch, Adrian asked if I would consider marital counseling. I said yes. Not because I had decided to stay married, because I wanted clarity without wondering forever. Our counselor, Dr. Elaine Ford, was calm and merciless in the way good counselors are. In the first session, Adrian said, "I want my marriage back." Dr. Ford asked, "Which version?" He paused. The healthy version. Did you have one? He looked at me. I looked back. Then he said quietly, maybe not. That was painful, but true. We had love. We had affection. We had partnership sometimes. But healthy? Not consistently. Dr. Ford asked me what I wanted. I said, I want to stop being punished for being responsible. She nodded. And do you believe this marriage can become a place where that happens? I looked at Adrian. He looked hopeful. I loved him. I did. But love was no longer my only witness. I don't know, I said. That became the answer for many months. I don't know. We worked through money. His mother. The night on the porch. My resentment. His shame. My fear. His entitlement. My habit of overfunctioning. His habit of underfunctioning. Then feeling controlled by my competence. Dr. Ford called it a dance. I hated that. It sounded too pretty. This was not a dance, I said once. It was me carrying furniture while he complained I blocked the music. Dr. Ford smiled. Good. Keep that sentence. Adrian did not laugh, but he wrote it down. Evelyn refused to respect the process. She called Adrian constantly. He began limiting calls. She showed up at Michael's house. He refused to leave with her. She told relatives I had bewitched him. Tessa suggested we send her a broom and confirm. I did not. But I laughed for 3 full minutes. Then Evelyn made her biggest mistake. She came to one of my Saturday workshops. Not openly. She sat in the back wearing sunglasses and a scarf, as if she were a spy in a church drama. I recognized her immediately. So did half the room, because her energy entered before she did. The topic that day was financial abuse and family pressure. Not physical violence. Not dramatic movie scenes. The quieter things. A spouse who controls information. A partner who refuses to contribute but demands authority. In-laws who pressure a woman to surrender property. Shame used as a payment plan. I saw Evelyn stiffen as women shared. One woman said, "My husband told his family he paid our rent. I let him because I did not want him embarrassed. Then they called me lazy." Another said, "My mother-in-law said if the lease is in my name, I must have trapped him." Another whispered, "I don't even know what debts he has." Evelyn's face changed. Not enough, but some. At the end, I stood before the group. When people benefit from your silence, they will call your truth disrespect, I said. But respect that requires you to disappear is not respect. It is control, wearing good clothes. Evelyn left before the closing prayer. That evening, Adrian called. "My mother came to your workshop." "I know. She called me crying." "I'm sure. She said you embarrassed her." "Did I name her?" "No." Then her conscience recognized itself. Silence. Then Adrian laughed softly. Not at me, at the truth. A week later, Evelyn asked to meet. I almost refused. Dr. Ford suggested I go only if I wanted to, in a public place, with time limits. So we met at a quiet restaurant. Evelyn arrived in a navy dress, pearls, and pride held together with pins. She looked older, not weak, just less certain. For several minutes, she spoke about Adrian as a child, his father's death, her fear, how she had raised him alone, how people judged widows, how she promised herself her son would never be looked down upon. I listened. Then I said, "Your pain does not excuse what you taught him." Her mouth closed. "You taught him that being respected meant being obeyed. You taught him that a wife who contributes is dangerous. You taught him that his shame matters more than my safety." She looked down. For the first time since I had known her, Evelyn Cole looked down. "I did not want him to hurt you," she said. "But you did want him to dominate me." Her eyes filled. She did not deny it. "I thought if he did not, you would leave him." I sat back. "So you tried to make him become someone worth leaving." That sentence struck her. She covered her mouth. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she whispered, "I was afraid." So was I. She looked at me then, really looked, maybe for the first time. "I am sorry for that night," she said. "Specific enough?" Not yet. For telling him to put you out, she added, voice strained. For calling your support disrespect. For making your home feel unsafe. I felt tears rise and hated that she still had access to them. I hear you, I said. It was not forgiveness. It was not reunion. It was acknowledgement. Sometimes that is all a person is entitled to. By the end of the year, I had a decision to make. Adrian wanted to come home. He had changed. Not perfectly. But truly, he had steady work. He was paying his debts. He had kept boundaries with Evelyn for months. He had not rushed me. He had accepted responsibility publicly with close family. He had even attended one Keys and Receipts workshop as a guest speaker and said, in front of 20 women and 3 men, I confused shame with disrespect and almost lost my marriage because I cared more about looking like a provider than becoming a partner. The room had gone silent. Then one older woman said, "At least you know now." Everyone laughed. Still, change after harm does not create obligation. That was the hardest truth. People may grow. You still get to decide whether they grow near you. I spent weeks thinking, praying, journaling, talking with Tessa, Dr. Ford, and myself. I walked through the house at night touching door frames like they held answers. Could I feel safe with him here again? Could love return without shrinking me? Could the porch become just a memory, not a warning? In the end, I invited Adrian to dinner, not to move in. Dinner. He arrived with flowers and a nervousness that made him seem younger. We ate at the dining table, the one his mother had once treated like her courtroom. After dinner, I placed a document between us. He stared at it. What is this? A household agreement. His face shifted. Old Adrian might have been offended. New Adrian read the title. What does it say? Financial responsibilities, boundaries with family, conflict rules. No one stays here without both of us agreeing. No major debt without disclosure. Rent contributions are fixed and automatic. If either of us feels unsafe, separation happens immediately. If you ever push, block, threaten, or lock me out again, the marriage is over without discussion. He swallowed. That is detailed. Yes, he read quietly. All of it. Then he looked up. I will sign. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not because the paper saved us, because he did not argue with the existence of it. Adrian, I said softly, I am not trying to punish you. I know. I am trying not to abandon myself again. His eyes filled. I don't want you to. He signed. I signed. He did not move back that night, or that month. We took time. 3 more months. More counseling. More meetings. More proof. When he finally returned, it was not as king, not as guest, not as rescued son. As tenant in a marriage he now understood required contribution. The first month, his rent portion transferred automatically. I cried. Not because I needed the money, because partnership had finally made a sound I could verify. Evelyn did not visit for a long time. When she did, she called first. She brought fruit. She did not rearrange the kitchen. She complimented the yellow paint. Badly. This color is cheerful. I smiled. I like it. She nodded. Then it is good. Progress. At dinner, she started to say something about grandchildren, then stopped herself so suddenly she coughed. Adrian handed her water and changed the subject. I watched him. He saw me watching. He smiled slightly. Not proud. Accountable. A year later, Keys and Receipts became a registered nonprofit. We taught women and men how to have honest household money conversations, protect tenancy rights, document contributions, and recognize when shame was driving financial control. Mr. and Mrs. Alvarez donated use of a community hall twice a month. Tessa became board chair because nobody argues with her twice. Adrian helped with marketing, not as my savior, as a volunteer with clear tasks and deadlines. At our first large event, I told part of my story, not all details. Enough. I stood in front of 50 people and said, one night, someone told me to get out of my house. The problem was, It had never been his house to throw me out of. But the bigger problem was that I had spent years forgetting it was mine. People were silent. I continued. Rent receipts cannot fix a broken marriage, but clarity can reveal one. And sometimes, the most important key you own is not the one that opens the door. It is the knowledge that you have the right to close it. Afterward, women lined up to speak to me. One said her husband controlled the lease even though she paid everything. One said her in-laws wanted her salary but not her voice. One man said he had been Adrian and wanted to change before his wife stopped looking at him with hope. That one made Adrian cry in the car. Good tears. Painful ones. 2 years after the porch night, Adrian and I renewed our vows privately. Not in a hall, not in front of Evelyn's friends. Not with speeches about kings, in our back garden, under soft lights, with Tessa, Michael, Mr. and Mrs. Alvarez, Dr. Ford, and a few close people who had witnessed truth, not performance. Evelyn came. She sat quietly. No gold dress. No microphone. At the end, she hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for giving my son a chance to become better than I raised him." That was the closest she ever came to full confession. I accepted it. But I also knew something important. I had not saved Adrian. He had chosen to do work. I had saved myself. That came first. Without that, nothing else would have been love. Sometimes people ask why I stayed. Others ask how I could ever trust him again. Both questions are fair. The truth is, not every story should end with reconciliation. Some doors should close forever. Some apologies are costumes. Some change is only fear of consequences. Some families do not deserve another seat at your table. I stayed only because the harm stopped. The accountability became consistent, and my safety no longer depended on his mood or his mother's approval. And even then, I stayed differently. With documents, with boundaries, with my own bank account, with friends who knew the truth, with a lawyer's number saved. With the deep knowledge that love is not proven by how much danger you endure. Love is proven by how much safety it builds. My husband said, "Get out of my house," and pushed me out because his mother ordered him to. He did not know I was the one paying the rent. But the greatest shock was not that the landlord removed him. The greatest shock was not that his mother lost control. The greatest shock was not even that Adrian eventually changed. The greatest shock was that I changed first. I stopped begging to be respected in a home my money kept standing. I stopped calling silence peace. I stopped hiding receipts to protect a man from the truth of his own choices. I stopped letting a mother-in-law define marriage as obedience to her son. I stopped believing that being a good wife meant becoming easier to mistreat. That night on the porch, barefoot and shaking, I thought I had been thrown out. But really, something else had been thrown out. Fear. Confusion. The old agreement that I would protect everyone's pride except my own dignity. When Mr. Alvarez asked if I wanted Adrian to remain in the house, I heard a question bigger than tenancy. Do you want this pattern to remain? Do you want this shame to remain? Do you want this silence to remain? Do you want to keep paying for a life where you can still be pushed outside by someone who contributes less but claims more? My answer was no. And that no became the first honest foundation our marriage ever had. If you are listening from inside a home where you pay bills but have no voice, where your name is on the lease but everyone acts like you are temporary, where your spouse's family treats your labor like duty and your boundaries like disrespect, hear me clearly. Know your papers. Keep your receipts. Have your own money. Tell someone safe the truth. Do not let shame make you hide facts that could protect you. And never believe that love requires you to stand outside a door you paid to keep open. A home is not just walls. It is safety. It is respect. It is truth. It is the right to sleep without wondering who can order you out. And if someone ever tells you to get out of their house when you are the one holding it together, do not waste your breath arguing with pride. Call the person whose name is on the paper. Call the truth. Then let the door answer.